Hey, welcome to episode 2 of Witko in the Wild. Today, we're butchering a pig in my carport with those guys. So a couple days after we dropped off the pigs at Gunter Brothers Meat Co., we headed back up there to pick up the finished sides. According to Harry, everything went to plan. The inspectors gave their okay, and the pigs looked healthy.
An average size is around 200 pounds, which is what you got. So on a live weight, that probably would have been about a 240 pound live animal.
This man with the pig over his shoulder is Dave. He's a butcher from Vancouver that's come over to show me the ropes on how to process this pig. Before we start cutting up the pig, I need to take care of something. I've got these 2 butchering tables that I've had sitting in my carport unused for probably about a year, so I need to prep them. I start by covering the tables in a vinegar and salt paste, and then I take a scrub brush and just kind of attack it. I get in there and scrub really hard and try to get the old crap off. The salt works as an abrasive, and the vinegar kind of works to kill any sort of bacteria or mold that might be on the surface. Once I feel like I've kind of covered every nook and cranny, I hose them off and dry them, and then I'll put a good healthy coating of a wood oil on there, something that you would use on a cutting board or butcher block. This one here is made with walnut oil. Walnut oil is one of the only vegetable oils that won't go rancid over time, so it works really well in this application. And it's also got some rosemary and bergamot essential oils that are natural antibacterials and antiseptics to help keep things clean. Okay, so enough on that. Let's get these pigs unloaded and get started. I should probably also mention here that the goal of this vlog isn't to show you a step-by-step process of every cut that's going to come off of a pig. It's just to show you that, with a little help from some friends, you can figure it out and you can do it at home. If you want to give it a try and if you want to get involved, do it. Hey Dave.
Hi.
What are we doing?
Today we're going to break down a pig in your carport.
That's weird.
A little bit. Should be fun either way. You're going to want to start off with a pig. Pretty important, preferably from a farm that you've been to and know. And then basic setup is just a simple sturdy table to keep your carcass on. Generally speaking, if you have, preferably a 5 to 6 inch boning knife. Something to do longer, bigger slices with. This is a 10-inch butcher knife, or a scimitar works as well, or just a chef knife if you have that as well. Cleaver's pretty handy. It's got a lot of weight to it, so it'll help you break through some bones. And then if you have just a simple little hacksaw at home, this will do the trick for any sawing needs you may have. And then the old steel, because you want to keep your blade sharp. Know what I mean?
Hopefully it goes without saying, but just in case, if you're not okay with watching an animal get cut up into pieces, then you probably shouldn't watch the rest of this. Viewer discretion is advised.
Leaf load's great for baking. Makes the most insanely flaky, crispy pie dough you've ever had in your entire life.
Okay, now we're ready for the first big step, removing the head.
Just make a little incision basically right behind the end of the jowl, or the cheek of the pig, if you will. So just like to make a little cut. Butchery is gravity. Gravity is your friend. So sometimes if I get in the right spot.
Now we're going to split this side into its 3 main primals. The first decision is where to cut the shoulder.
It all depends on the butcher and who you are. Some like to do between 3 and 4, some like to do 4 and 5, some people even go so far as between 5 or 6. That's basically just dependent on whether you want to have more shoulder or more loin. I think for today's purposes, we'll probably break in between 4 and 5. You can obviously see that the structure of the ribs are going this way, but anytime you're cutting anything in terms of whether it's a pig or a cow or a lamb or anything like that, you always want to make straight cuts. So if you were to cut this like this way, you're obviously going to have a not perpendicular shoulder. It just won't lend to even cuts of meat, basically.
After a few quick strokes with a hacksaw, a flick of the knife, and letting our friend Gravity help with some work, we're ready to move on to separating the belly and loin.
Basically, as soon as it curves right around that first vertebrae is the spot where you want to separate your loin and your belly from your sirloin and your leg. But first we're going to take out the old pride and joy tenderloin. So you just want to go along the side. Just follow it. Just following, letting the tip of my knife go along the vertebrae itself.
This will go pretty much the same way as the front shoulder did. You're going to use the saw to break through the vertebrae, and then with a little help from Gravity, your knife should be able to find its way through the joints.
Pork sirloin, pork leg. We've broken our pig. Took the one side, broken it down into its three main primals. We've separated our shoulder. We have our loin and belly. We've removed our tenderloin, sirloin, ham. Three main pig primals, which will further break into their subprimals: roasts, chops, steaks, mince.
Now it's my turn to give it a crack and break my side into the three main primals. Unfortunately, once I got into the thick of it, I didn't really do a lot of filming with the rest of the breakdown. But, as you can see, I kind of fumbled my way through it and got things figured out. And all of my main parts are now ready to be broken down into smaller cuts. The one thing I really wanted to make sure I spoke to Dave about was, how do people go from buying industrial meat from the grocery store to buying happy meat? What are some of the ways to make that transition?
Sustainably raised, ethically raised meat does cost a little bit more money. But I really think the key to that is understanding what cuts come out of an animal. If you learn and understand about all the different steaks and roasts that come out of the animal, then you can then it's totally affordable to eat sustainably raised meat, really. The key is really getting away from the traditional primals, as they're called. If you want to eat sustainably raised meat consistently anyway, learn about the different cuts that come from the animal, the lesser known cuts, things like skirt steaks, flank steaks, flat iron, tri-tip, copa, chuck eye steaks, sirloin caps, shanks of all animals, beef shanks, or pig would be known as the hock. This is from the forequarter of the shoulder, so your front hock or forehock, and then your hock from the back end or hind quarter. Tons of meat, yields a ton, cheap as chips, and the flavor from these is just phenomenal. It's going to blow any steak out of the water. Takes a little bit longer to cook. Obviously, tougher cuts of meat have a bit more intermuscular fat and connective tissue, so you want to do what's called, the culinary term would be braising, so you want to slow cook them to sort of render out that fat and break down that connective tissue, but the flavor that you yield from a cut of meat like that is tenfold that of any sort of really lean cut, like a tenderloin or something like that. So find a good local butcher, ask them if they do whole animal butchery, and then get them to sort of show you the ropes in terms of the lesser known peasant cuts, as some people like to call them.
Boneless copa roast. The hardest part is the knots.
I think of all the lessons, the one thing I was really excited to finally get down was how to do a friggin' butcher's knot. So here we have it. This is everything from my side of the pig. I won't bother giving a full detailed list, but as you can see, there's boneless chops, bone-in chops, sirloin steaks, a few skirt steaks, a big pile of trim that'll be turned into sausage, ribs, shoulder roasts, a whole bunch of belly to be turned into bacon, some hocks. It's definitely enough to put a huge dent in the hole in our freezer. In the end, it worked out costing somewhere around $6 a pound, which is about what you'd pay for hamburger meat at the grocery store. I know you're sitting there wondering what happened with the head halves that we cut off at the beginning. Well, we roasted them for a few hours, pulled off all the meat, and made a ridiculous amount of tacos that night. Okay, well that's it. Those guys are working away on the vacuum bagger in there and getting things all wrapped up, ready for the freezer, ready for delivery to the other two people that split on the other half. We came in this morning with 2 whole sides of pigs, and now we've got all kinds of roasts and chops and bacon and hocks and all sorts of great stuff to play with in the kitchen. So in the next episode, we'll look at how to cook some of this stuff. Really interested in some of the little skirt steaks, see what I can do with those. So a huge thanks to Dave the Butcher. You can find him at The Honest Butcher on Instagram. Subscribe to the channel if you would really appreciate it. And tell all your friends, share it, post it. Thanks for watching. Hope you like it. Ciao.